What's going on, everyone? We are back again. There's been a lot of news going around in the sports world recently, but we are here today for one very specific reason, for an event that's happening in just a few days, and we are here to give you all the details. But before we do, I'm Adam Avin,
I'm Zach Roisman.
and this is a very special NFL Draft 2021 edition of Make Your Point.
Hey, you're watching Make Your Point.
All right, so Zach, the NFL draft is in a couple days, a few days, whenever we decide to put out this episode. But obviously, we needed to predict. That's what we do on the show. We like to rank and see what is going to happen in the future, just like we did for March Madness, the past NFL draft, the NBA draft. We want to give all the input that we can, all the details that we can. So obviously, there's been a lot of news about players falling in the draft or gaining some momentum, going higher or lower. But obviously, we're going to talk a little bit more about the first round specifically, because that's where all of the top tier talent is and where all the news is really circulating, where teams might be trading their picks and whatnot. And so before we start, I want to take a look at the godfathers of NFL draft predicting, Mel Kiper Jr. He every year he puts out his mock draft for every round basically, but the first round is the one that is prime, as well as Todd McShay from ESPN puts out his too, but Mel Kiper has been doing it for triple the time that Todd McShay has, and that's why everyone looks at his and discusses him and makes their own list so that they can try and beat Mel Kiper and predict more in their own mock draft than Mel Kiper did in his. And obviously Mel Kiper's been studying the NFL for years, and he does have a lot of good insight, so we want to take a look at his top 10 picks in the first round, his mock draft 4.0 as he called it. And so let's take a look right here at the top 10. So at number 1, he has the Jaguars taking Trevor Lawrence, which is pretty much already predicted. Number 2, the Jets, Zach Wilson, which is pretty much already predicted. This is where it gets interesting. Number 3, he has the 49ers taking Mac Jones. So let's start here with that third pick. It looks like right now where a lot of the news is, they're basically predicting around Mac Jones, a quarterback out of Alabama, North Dakota State quarterback Trey Lance, and Ohio State quarterback Justin Fields. What quarterback do you see fitting the best in that 49er system with Kyle Shanahan and George Kittle and everyone on that offense?
Yeah, I think that it's Mac Jones. I think that he's the top choice there. And obviously, he was not always so highly rated. You look at right before this season, you'd be hard pressed to find someone that even saw him going in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
But, this season, his senior year, he really came into his own. Obviously, that Alabama team is littered with draft prospects. We see in this, he's got some incredible receivers. He had all the connections, which a lot of people said, he has these weapons. Is he going to be able to succeed without them? But I think that we should really look at his leadership, and that's a team that respected him. And when you have a team that's full of elite players and they're looking to that quarterback for guidance, that's great. And that is something that they're going to want, especially in a young quarterback in San Francisco. Obviously, there was a lot of talk of would Jimmy G be staying. Now it looks as though they're going to plan for him to be the starting quarterback. I think that we want to get someone who would be a future franchise quarterback, not just a useful quarterback, but someone who will take over and maybe not push Jimmy G out, but kind of have that fallback to eventually be that player. And I think that Mac Jones is the best. Some people would say Trey Lance or Justin Fields might, but I think that in terms of leadership, in terms of accuracy, I think that's the best bet.
If I'm 49ers, if I'm the 49ers, I'm going with the guy who led his team to a national championship appearance in Justin Fields. I think his main knocks are maybe his decision making and his accuracy at times. People think are not too great, or a lot of people like to comment on his arm strength, which watching the game film can completely disprove that. In his pro day, he showed he can make the throws. If I'm the 49ers, I want to take the guy who's running the 4.40 and who can throw the ball 80 yards. And I'm going to help him fix his flaws with decision making and all that and take him. Mac Jones, he's a good player, he's smart, but I don't think he's got what it takes to play in the league nowadays. Nowadays you need someone who's versatile and can make the throws and do it all and just carry an offense.
Who should they take? Trey Lance. but who are they going to take? Mac Jones. And specifically because of all of the rumors pointing, basically saying he's a lock for that third pick. I don't like Justin Fields here. I don't like Justin Fields that much to warrant the third pick overall in the draft. And I do think Mac Jones is a reach in and of itself, but I do like him more than Justin Fields. But if I was Kyle Shanahan, I would go with Trey Lance. It's not the best fit, but he's certainly the best prospect to take at 3. And I feel like the 49ers need to take a quarterback there.
So obviously you just said Mac Jones going at 3. I do have Mac Jones going at 3 too. Mel Kiper Jr. has actually already said Mac Jones at 3 to the 49ers is basically a done deal. You saw the offense that Kyle Shanahan runs, that he ran in Atlanta with Matt Ryan. They went to the Super Bowl. Obviously, they had the huge lead fallback against the Patriots. And no, not a big lead, just 28-3, right? And so obviously, Matt Ryan was quarterback there, a primary pocket passer. Same with Jimmy Garoppolo. He went to the Super Bowl, had success. It's not crazy to think about the fact that Mac Jones, another pocket passer, guy with a big arm and accuracy, can go and fill in that slot and that need for a new kind of young, rejuvenated Jimmy Garoppolo, Matt Ryan type in that Kyle Shanahan offense. So we're going to keep a lookout for that as we get closer to the draft. I want to highlight the next pick in Mel Kiper's thing in his mock draft. He says the Dolphins are going to go up to 4 and take Kyle Pitts. And this isn't a crazy idea. Kyle Pitts, the best tight end. Nice background. Kyle Pitts, the best tight end in the draft, the only tight end that's very highly recruited in this draft. People saying he's like Dan Mullen called him a unicorn. He can do everything. Some people have said he's the Julio Jones of the draft. Just throw him the ball, he'll go up and get it. I completely agree with all the statements. I'm sure you do too. He is unbelievable. We watched him firsthand at Florida. And there's no doubt in my mind he should be one of the first non-quarterback skill position players going off the board. Chris Mortensen, reporter at ESPN, said that Jerry Jones is infatuated with Kyle Pitts. So now you look at the Cowboys and what they've done in recent years. Dak is obviously going to come back from injury. They just signed to a long-term deal. They have their quarterback, but they have a really good receiving core in Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. Do they really need the tight end, Zach, or do they need to work on something else on their team? Should they trade up to get Kyle Pitts?
I mean, I think Kyle Pitts will help whatever team he goes to, especially a team like the Cowboys that has a capable quarterback. And I've been very, very critical of Dak Prescott. I'm not a fan of him, but he's capable. And so I think that having a weapon like Kyle Pitts will help them. It's more of a question of what are they going to have to give up to get him? And is that then worth it? And then the same thing is even with, I think that he'll go at 6 to the Dolphins. What can the Dolphins get from the Cowboys that makes it worth it? Because I think that he could be a tremendous help to the Dolphins, because then that would really strengthen that receiving core for Tua. And so it's all going to come down to what are they willing to offer? And then, that's going to come from how much he can help. And he can help, but what will they have to offer? What can they offer?
I completely agree. Kyle Pitts, like I said, a great player. I do have him going to the Dolphins at 6. I think he's a great fit there for us. Obviously, you bring him down to Miami. Brian Flores came from the New England system. Bill Belichick for a long time had a 2 tight end set with Aaron Hernandez, Rob Gronkowski, Martellus Bennett. And now he's trying to recreate it with Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith, 2 tight ends two highly recruited tight ends that he just brought in this offseason from the Titans and the Chargers. So now you see Bill Belichick trying to do that. We already have Gesicki here. Kyle Pitts being one of the first skill position players off the board. You take him at 6 to the Dolphins. You have him and Gesicki in the middle of the field. That's going to be an absolutely tremendous tight end duo, one that compete with, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry in New England, if you consider tight end duos in general. And that'd be great for Tua as well. It fits very well within his skill set. When you look at the Cowboys right now, and you're right, they would need to give up a lot to trade up, because they would have to trade up to 4 probably, or to 6, somewhere there, because from what it looks like right now, the Falcons have already said they're open to trading the number 4 pick. Mel Kiper does have them trading, but only to 6 with the Dolphins, so that they can basically swap, so that they can make sure, so the Dolphins can make sure that they secure Kyle Pitts, so he doesn't go to the Bengals or he doesn't go to any team lower. So that it's kind of like a security blanket because they know the Bengals don't need a quarterback. So if they trade down to 6, who cares? They still get Trey Lance. They get the quarterback they needed, the player they wanted, right? But the Cowboys would have to definitely give a lot more. You're at 10. If you're going to 10-6 or 10-4, I don't know how much you give up, but you're trying to get a top 5 pick in the draft to take one of the highest recruited tight ends in the history of the game.
Well, I would agree with Jerry Jones. I think Kyle Pitts is a phenomenal prospect. But should they trade up? Absolutely not. They have playmakers everywhere. And their tight end room isn't worth trading up and selecting who could be a generational prospect. But they need help really bad on the defensive side of the ball. If they were to trade up, and even speaking about that, I don't think there's enough talent on the defensive side in this draft to justify trading up to even 4th. So I think they should be comfortable where they're at and see what falls to them.
I think that the position the Cowboys are in right now, they are actually in a decent position to go all in for Pitts. I'm not saying put all their cards on the table, but I'd be willing to give up some future picks for him because I think their team's in a decent spot to win now. With Dak coming back healthy, their offensive line should be coming back a lot healthier this year. They have a lot of money spent on this roster, so this would be the time to try to go all in to win. The rebuild isn't really in the picture. They're paying Zeke so much money. They're throwing all this money at their O-line, which a lot of these guys deserve it because they have a lot of all pros on their O-line. But where their main lacking point is defense, obviously. If their defense can hold up, then I think that with their offense of Dak, healthy Amari Cooper, healthy CeeDee Lamb, who's going to get better, and healthy Michael Gallup with a good running game, and Kyle Pitts would be extremely lethal, and I think they'd do well.
As we continue to kind of go down this top 10 draft board right here, we just went over the 3rd, the 4th pick, see what the Dolphins and Falcons might do. The 49ers with Mac Jones, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, who are they going to take? But the 5th pick is kind of interesting too. So we got the Bengals here, and there's really only 2 options for them, which would be Jamar Chase, wide receiver out of LSU, or offensive lineman from Oregon, Penei Sewell. And I know we've kind of gone back in our heads a little bit about who they should ultimately take. But on your draft board, who do you have them taking, and who do you think would be the better fit for Joe Burrow next season?
Well, if I'm the Bengals, I'm going with Sewell. The main reason Sewell's what you get if you want to invest in Joe Burrow. If you want Joe Burrow to stay healthy, you got to get him an offensive line. Last year it showed he had no offensive line. It hurt him, led to his injury. We kept having to move around and do everything himself. Obviously, Jamar Chase would be a great weapon to have for him, but if you don't have time to throw, you're not going to be able to get the receiver the ball. I think it's still a very real possibility that they take Chase because it's the NFL and these teams love to make decisions like that. But if it was me, I would take Penei Sewell and ensure Joe Burrow's health and time to throw the ball because I think they have good weapons. I think T. Higgins is a good player. I like Tyler Boyd. And Joe Mixon in the backfield. I think that they have good enough weapons, improve the offensive line for Burrow and let him stay healthy and do his thing.
Well, Joe Burrow needs everything over there in Cincinnati. And but you have to prioritize the offensive line here, especially when you have 4 teams that are going to take non-offensive line positions ahead of you, which means you have free range across the board for O-line. You take a guy that's been hyped up for years at this point, ever since he was a freshman at the University of Oregon, and Penei Sewell, who looks like that Quentin Nelson type of prospect, who can just throw people around, and you can play across the entire O-line, or even take Rashawn Slater, who I love as well.
Well, it's a pretty simple argument. It's, do you want to give your quarterback a weapon, or do you want to protect your quarterback? And it's really do you want to defend him, or do you want to give him another option? And so there's definitely certain pluses to both. On my draft board, and I know on your draft board, we both have Penei Sewell, just because ultimately I do think that he will be more valuable, and that it's more of value to protect Joe Burrow so he doesn't have to scramble like a maniac, which is really not a sustainable gameplay. it's I think it's more important to protect him than to give him that option. With that being said, if they were going to take any receiver or really anyone other than Penny Sewell, Jamar Chase would be that person. Obviously, he played with Joe Burrow at LSU, which then, gives that degree of chemistry. It's already there. You've got that. You have a top wide receiver that he's already played with. That's invaluable. And so that would be extremely beneficial. And here they're faced with a dilemma that they have two really, really good options, maybe two better options than almost any other team has to pick from.
Yeah.
In terms of what's good for their team. With that being said, I think they're going with Penei Sewell.
As we take a look here at the rest of the draft board, the Dolphins, let's talk about our hometown team a little bit. We already mentioned that we both have them taking Kyle Pitts at number 6. Mel Kiper has them taking Kyle Pitts at 4, trading up. Their second pick, though, is at 18. We got 2 first-round draft picks here, which are both very highly sought after in a specific race for a quarterback, let's say Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, or just trading up in general. There were a lot of talks where if we were going to trade up in the draft, 2 draft picks or originally or trade down or whatever, or trade for a quarterback, that the 18th pick would also be involved. Or if we were to get Deshaun Watson, we'd have to trade 5 first-round picks over the next few years, including the 18th pick. So the 18th pick is kind of, in the air here for the Dolphins. The Dolphins right now, we predicted Kyle Pitts to them. That gives Tua another weapon. He has Devontae Parker. He has some receivers there. What do you see them doing with the 18th pick? Are they going defense? Are they going offense, special teams? What do you got?
Well, I don't think they'll move up to start off with that number 6 pick. They traded back for a reason and then up again, because I feel like they know who they'll have a choice of by the time that 6th pick rolls around. I don't think they'll be moving up anymore. I do think a trade at 4 is incredibly realistic considering the Falcons' needs and what they have and what's available at that point. But speaking of the 18th pick, I have the Dolphins taking Devontae Smith. I think he'll fall that far, and they need a playmaker. You could make an argument for Najee Harris or Rashad Bateman, but they need a pure playmaker, especially since I have them taking some offensive line help in Rashawn Slater in the first pick. But with that being said, either you go playmaker top 6 and an offensive lineman later, or you go an offensive lineman early and a playmaker later, and that just depends what they make, the decision they make at that time.
I think that at 18, there's going to be a lot of options available. This is a very offensive heavy draft this year. There's not too many heavily highlighted defensive prospects. And I think by the time we get to 18, because of the way the top 10 is going to end up going with so much offense, there's going to be a lot of top defensive talent out there. And I don't think it would be a bad idea at all to try to grab one of those players. Of course, running back's a big need of our team, but it shows throughout history that drafting running back in the first round usually isn't a good idea. You can find running backs almost anywhere in the draft at a very, very good price. And at 18, it's key to nail that pick if they want to keep on their trend of getting these first-round picks and having success. So I'd say try to take one of those defensive prospects that's there and ensure this defense is better than it was last year.
Well, you're gonna have to let me know what I put on my projection. But I would say that what they really want is a weapon for Tua. I think that the best thing is offense. And again, I don't remember who my prediction was.
Well, you're exactly right. They need a weapon for Tua. You had them taking Najee Harris, as do I, and I think
right.
a lot of Dolphins fans right now are kind of hoping for that as well. You see Najee, what he did against the Gators in the SEC championship and in the national championship.
I didn't see that.
Sorry. Well, he did amazing.
I didn't see it.
Yeah,
okay. I didn't want to see it.
Yeah, me too. It was devastating, but no, he's obviously a great player, and he's obviously played with Tua if you put him back there, so that'd be a great matchup, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that he is the best, and of course, it slipped my mind. I'm like, oh, he was the best, and I couldn't remember. But that's someone. The Dolphins have had glimpses of running back talent in the past, decade, whatever. We've had obviously Jay Ajayi, who was really, really great, and then not. And we've had Kenyon Drake, who was great, and then not. And so I think that Najee Harris, at the very least, he'll be great and then not. But I do think that he could be good for a while, and I think that he could fit our backfield really well. I say our like I'm a part of the team, but I do think he could fit the Dolphins' backfield very well, especially he's somebody that can be a weapon for Tua if need be. Tua obviously has done quite a bit of those short routes. You could say that he's just panicking, but whatever. I think that it's then a super, super positive to have a strong running back there that in case he needs to dump it, he needs to get rid of it. It doesn't mean that it's a nothing play. It means you could still get a few yards, a first down, what have you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's super valuable. And that's not even including the run game. That's just from a passing perspective. And so then when you factor in the run game, taking some of the pressure off Tua that you can have a much more talented, running back than I'm not saying that our running backs aren't talented, and I'm not even saying that Najee Harris would necessarily start, but I think that it's certainly a weapon that can just alleviate some pressure for Tua if Tua's, not feeling it, if Breida's not feeling it, then you have that other player who can go in and get something done, which I think is super valuable.
And we already have Myles Gaskin there. We also signed Malcolm Brown from the Rams, who came in this offseason as well. So we did sign a running back. There's still some confusion about what we're going to do with Matt Breida. We also got Salvin Ahmed, who was undrafted. We picked him up off the practice squad last year. Actually did a pretty good job for us. So we still have a few running backs there, but I still wouldn't be surprised if you bring in Najee Harris. He's a powerful running back. As we're already at pick 18 right here, and we're kind of closing out the first round, who do you have as the biggest sleeper in the NFL draft, first round?
I have a guy who's one of the top defensive prospects, and he's not really slept on as much as he's just not talked about as much as everyone else in this draft is. And that guy is Micah Parsons. I think that he's extremely talented, and he showed in college that he can make all the reads and tackles, and he's extremely athletic. He ran an insanely fast 40 time. He had a great pro day. And if he can just improve his physicality and just get stronger overall, I think he's going to be a fantastic player. So I'd watch out for him in this year's out of this year's draft class.
I'm going to give two here real quick. I'm going to say number one, Kadarius Toney out of Florida. Obviously, in my draft, I have him going late first round to the New Orleans Saints. They need another receiver. They lost Emmanuel Sanders. He's a playmaker that can create a lot of space and make it very easy for Taysom Hill or Jameis, or if they draft a quarterback, whoever's starting for the Saints next season. They already have Michael Thomas, who's obviously, a more shorter route guy. Kadarius Toney can be that Tyreek Hill for you, run down the field, create some space. Kadarius Toney, watch out for him late first round, mid to late first round, I think. The other one that I think, I wouldn't know if he's necessarily a sleeper, but I don't know if I don't think he's very high in first round mock drafts either. I have him going to the Colts with the 21st pick in the draft. And that's Jamin Davis, linebacker out of Kentucky. He is a great quarterback. You already have linebacker. Sorry. You already have Darius Leonard there, all pro linebacker in his first couple seasons. He was the all rookie defensive player in his rookie year. Darius Leonard has been a great force for them on the defense. They already got DeForest Buckner as well, the defensive tackle. You add Jamin Davis in that backfield as well, a terror on the edge in the backfield for the Colts there. So I think he's going to go to the Colts, and I don't know if he's necessarily a sleeper pick, but I think he's a player that's not very highly sought after. I can't speak today, by many NFL franchises. So hopefully he goes to them and I get that prediction correct. I do think he's a good player.
I have two people for you, one on each side of the ball. And I mentioned him earlier in Rashad Bateman. As great as the wide receiver talent is in this class, he could end up being that number one guy. He's just a pure physical receiver. He reminds me a lot of how I felt about Michael Pittman from last year. And he just has a knack for getting the ball, great hands, above average route runner. above average speed, anything you could ask for. He really put that offense on his back up there in Minnesota. And then maybe I'm a little biased here, but Javon Holland, safety out of Oregon. I've watched him for 3-4 years at this point. I can't remember exactly. But he is a ball hawk, and he can patrol the deep half of a field as good as anyone in this draft.
Caleb Farley. I think that he is one of, and I know people are gonna say he's not a sleeper. I've seen a lot of the drafts having Mel Kiper, I believe, has him going in the second round. A lot have him going late first. I think that should he go in the first round, that's a sleeper. Even in the second round, even more so a sleeper. He's a very, very talented cornerback out of Virginia Tech. I think that he will bring a lot of value to whatever team he goes to. And he's not, by some, he's considered to be a top cornerback, but a lot of people do not have him as one of the top cornerbacks in the draft. Mm-hmm. I think that's a mistake. And I think that, well, he's not a top 10 or even a top 20 pick. I think that he will be a sleeper pick.
Before we close out here, there's always one very important draft question that people of all ages have been asking for the past 15 years, 16 years. Will Aaron Rodgers finally get a weapon on offense?
As a Bears fan, I say let's hope not, because if he gets that talent, you'll see great things happen in Green Bay. And I see an organization that honestly will not help him again this year, or at least in the way that the fans want in a true playmaker out wide. I feel like by the time their pick rolls around, assuming they don't trade up, they're going to have to reach for a receiver, tight end at that point. So I have them going with offensive line help. And if you could consider that help for Aaron Rodgers, their offensive line slumped a little bit, and a lot of that was because of Bakhtiari's injury last season.
Well, if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm making it known that they better try to get me some help, whether it be in the first round or somewhere in the draft. If they don't go look at least early on to get him some help on offense. If I'm him, I'm extremely frustrated. You saw after last year, that NFC Championship loss, how he said the future is just, it's unknown. He doesn't know what's going to happen in the future. He's not. I think he wants to win before he goes out, and that if he can't win with Green Bay, he's going to find his way out to try to win with another team. So if I'm Green Bay, I'm going to try to get him some weapons, and because I'm sure Rodgers that's what he wants. And I don't know with the Jordan Love, that situation, what's going to happen with that. He becomes expendable to trade or what happens. But, yeah, they better get him some offense.
I think so. I will say, obviously, they did.
I don't just mean first round. Will he get like a good weapon, a highly known, good college player?
I want to say yes. I think so. Obviously, they did draft quarterback, last year, which obviously doesn't help Aaron Rodgers at all, but it is an offensive player. I really want them to. I would like to see Aaron Rodgers succeed, and I would like to see Green Bay, acquire the tools necessary, give him the tools to succeed instead of getting a potential replacement. Mm-hmm. However, their track record is not good. So we'll just have to wait and see. But
so you want to put your hope in them, but you can. I have your sleeper pick, Caleb Farley, going to the Packers at 29 because they do need.
So you're saying no. You're saying they're not.
I'm saying no. I'm saying okay. I have no faith in them. And you actually have them taking offensive tackle.
Yes, that's my wishful thinking.
Out of Texas, yeah, someone on offense. He's not a weapon, but a good offense player. Someone that.
No, that's someone that's going to help.
It's not a quarterback that might replace you in the future.
No, but it's someone that'll protect him. Someone that will help him. Not obviously a receiver, but that's wishful thinking. If I'm being perfectly honest.
No, I definitely agree. If you've stuck around this long in this episode, thank you so much for listening to this very special NFL Draft edition of Make Your Point. We will be back next week in a couple of weeks to follow the draft, to see if our predictions were correct, to kind of recap and what we think some of the picks that were made in the NFL draft were the right ones or the wrong ones, who were the steals of the draft, who were not the steals of the draft, who were the bad picks, the good picks. And we will be all there to talk about it, as well as the NBA playoffs, which are going to be starting, and NFL offseason. Jadeveon Clowney is looking to sign a deal with the Browns. We'll talk about that in the next episode. So everyone, make sure you stay tuned. including Stephen. I know Stephen A is staying tuned as well, right, Zach?
Yes, he is.
As we close out here, I'm Adam Avin. That's Zach Roisman. Thank you guys for so watching this special edition of Make Your Point. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Apologies to our dear friend Shaquille O'Neal. Sorry we couldn't get you on the show this time, man, but we will try next week.
Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe.
And remember the golden rule.